Hey guys, welcome back. So today I'm going to dedicate an entire video just to references. It seems to be a thing that people are struggling with, especially beginners, so I thought we would tackle it in this video. So here's our player character, and we have a little purple enemy over here. And say when we run into our enemy we want something to happen. In order to do that we're going to need references. Now most of you guys are probably familiar with casting. So let's go into our enemy, and you guys are probably familiar with doing something like this. You get your enemy mesh, or the capsule component, you say on begin overlap, you want to get your third person character, and you just drag out of this other actor thing here, you plug it into the object, and everything works fine. And then you can come into your third person character, pull out of here, get health, and we'll say we're going to subtract some health here, like 10 points, and then we'll say set health, like that, and we'll plug this in right here. And just to be sure this worked, we'll have it print the player health. So we'll hit compile and save, we'll hit play, and we'll run into our character. And you see in the top left it said 490, and actually our health bar decreased a little bit here. So you can see this is working. The problem is, what happens when you want to do something that you can't use an overlap event for? So what about if we were doing begin play and we wanted to do the same thing? We just wanted to maybe have a delay, we'll wait 2 seconds, and this is some character that the player is not going to run into, or some event that you're not going to get an overlap for, but you want the same thing to happen. So what are we going to plug into here? Now for a player character, there's a very easy way to get this reference. You can always drag out and say get player pawn. This will work for both pawns and characters. Or you can say get player character, and this will still work. So if we do this, we hit compile and save, and now we hit play, wait a couple seconds, and you see our health went down a little bit here. So this is another way that we can get a reference to something like the player character besides using an overlap event. But what about if we didn't want to use that, or say this wasn't a character that the player was actually using? So we wouldn't be able to do that if the player wasn't possessing that character at the time. So how would we get another way to get a reference here without using overlap events or get player character? Well, what we can do is, if our player actually exists in the world at start. So right now they don't, because we have a player start, there's actually no third person character here. So we can't just click on an actor here and somehow make a reference. But what we can do is we can use this get all actors of class. And what this is going to do is search your world for a specific type or specific class of actor. And it's going to give you this array of all the actors that it found. So we'll look for our third person character. And now, because there's only going to be one in the world, we can just use a simple get. And the zero index will be the only actor that's returned here. If you have multiple, say that you're looking for enemies or something, then you'll have to do you'll have to add some script to figure out which specific enemy you want to target. But in this case, since there's only going to be one third person character, this will pull out the only reference to that character. And you can plug this right into the object pin. Now we can hit compile and save, and we can hit play, wait 2 seconds, and you see our health will go down. So that's a few ways that we can get references. Now you see this warning here. It says you don't need cast a third-person character. This is actually just redundant at this point because we've already gotten all actors of class, so everything that comes out of here is a third-person character, which means that this is already for sure a third-person character, so we don't need to make this cast. You can actually just plug things directly in. And you can hook this up here and delete your cast node. You would need to cast if this was like a master class and you wanted a specific child of that, then you would still need the cast afterwards. But if you're just looking for a specific class, even if it's a child, you can just directly search for that child class here, and then you won't need the cast. So just to show you guys that this still works, we wait a couple seconds and you see our health goes down. Okay. Now say we are in our character blueprint here, and what we want to do is destroy our enemy for whatever reason. So because the enemy already exists in the world, we can actually come here, create a variable, and say reference to my enemy. And instead of having this be a Boolean, what we're going to do is we're going to search for whatever you named your enemy. So mine is called dummy enemy. We want to have an object reference. And now what we're going to do is you're going to need to make this instance editable. So click on this and the little eye will open up. And now you see this little box will be checked over here. Now if we hit compile and save, we'll actually be able to do stuff directly with this reference here. So say get reference to my enemy, and we'll just say set material of the mesh, and we'll make this red. So what we're going to do is on begin play, we're going to change the color of our enemy mesh. So come up here, we'll say delay, wait a couple seconds, and we'll do that. So hit compile and save. Now if we hit play, we wait a couple seconds, and you see nothing happened. So what did I forget to do? Look, there's an error here. Access none trying to read property reference to my enemy from the function. So there was nothing in here. This is what the compiler is telling you, that this wasn't a good reference. Now I did this intentionally because this is something that people forget to do. You now have to actually go into your third person character, and what we need to do is actually give it a reference to the specific enemy. So again, you can come in here and say get all actors of class, and search for dummy enemy. What we're going to do is come out here and say get, and this is going to be the reference. So we're going to drag our reference out here, hold Alt, and we'll be able to set it. So now this will actually be set prior to using it here, and this should work. So if we hit play, wait a couple seconds, and now you see he's turned red. And we hit escape, and we don't get any errors. Okay, so let's get rid of this now, and we'll try something else. Let's go into our level blueprint. So if we select our enemy here, the nice thing about the level blueprint is you can create references to anything just by selecting it. So as long as it exists in the world, you select it, you right click here in the event graph, and you see create a reference to dummy enemy 1. Sometimes this doesn't pop up, so if you just search for reference, this will eventually show up here in the drop-down menu. So now you see it says dummy enemy 1 from persistent level. Now for this one, if we drag off of our event begin play here, we'll have a delay. Wait a couple seconds, and we'll once again change the material. And we'll make this material green. So hit compile and save. We'll hit play. And I guess it didn't really like the green, but you can see that it changed the material here. So in the level blueprint, you don't need to use get all actors of class or something like that, or an overlap event to make this reference work. And the reason is because the level already knows which actor this is specifically, because you selected the instance like this, and then you went into the level blueprint and asked it to make a reference. So this is already storing actual data about the particular blueprint instance. Whereas when we were in our third-person character, we had to cast this, or we had to use a get all actors of class, and then we would have to, from the get node, set this variable, because the actor, our third-person character, doesn't know who this dummy enemy is when the first blueprint gets made. So when the enemy gets placed into the world, the player gets placed into the world, even though you have a variable that says a dummy enemy, it doesn't know who the dummy enemy is. But the level blueprint does, and that's why we didn't need that extra get all actors of class node. Now the problem with this is that, say you want the enemy to do something to the level blueprint, to go the other way around. So if we were in our dummy enemy, and we wanted to, we'll go into the level, and I'll make a function and say cool level function. And this will just print out cool level. Say we wanted to call this from our dummy enemy. So we go into our dummy enemy, and you want to say cast to level blueprint. But you can't get it. This level blueprint editor overview and this other one below it, these aren't the level blueprint. So there's no way for you to actually go from the enemy into the level blueprint. It's very difficult. I think you can do it with like event dispatchers and some weird stuff, but we're not going to worry about that right now. I'm going to show you guys an easier way to do that. But if we make a function here, cool enemy stuff, and we go into our level blueprint, we'll see that our level blueprint from this reference that we made can call cool enemy stuff. Same thing with your player character. If you get a reference to your enemy, although this one won't work because we're not setting the variable, but you can call cool enemy stuff. You would just need to set this variable because right now it's empty. You see it says reference to my enemy, and there's nothing in there. So you'd actually need to set it. Okay. The other thing people have trouble with is getting into widgets. So here's a generic widget that I have. We'll make a function, cool widget stuff, and we'll just print out widget. Now say we wanted to call this from our dummy enemy for whatever reason. We'd have to first find out where this widget is made, because there's no way that the enemy is going to overlap a widget. The widget just exists on the screen and never exists in the world. So our dummy enemy has to somehow get a reference to this widget. And the easiest way to do it is to figure out which blueprint is creating the widget. So if we look in our third person character here, we'll see that our third person character creates the widget and it adds it to the viewport. But if I just leave it like this, there's no way for our dummy enemy to ever access this widget. What we need to do is right click here and promote it to a variable. So now we can call this widget reference. And we'll hook these up. Just break that, put it here so it's clean. So now you guys can see that we're making a widget and we're storing the widget right here as a variable. And you see this variable type is a my first widget. So this is going to be a reference to the actual widget that's in the viewport now. So we can hit compile and save. Now how do we get to that from our dummy enemy? So from our dummy enemy, you see here we got all actors of class. So we're still going to need a reference to our third person character here. So we can use this as a reference, but now instead of directly doing something in the third person character, we're going to say get widget reference. You see right here it says widget reference. This is the variable that we created. So this is storing a reference to the instance of the widget that we've put in the viewport. And now from here we can say call cool widget stuff. So if we wait 2 seconds here, and we'll just bring this down here, we'll hit compile and save. So this should print out widget. So if we hit play, wait a couple seconds, and you guys see widget printed up here. So that means we accessed our widget from our enemy now. And you can do that from pretty much any blueprint. So you'll just need to get a reference to your third person character. Whatever blueprint is creating the widget, you get a reference to that, and then you can access the variable within that's containing the widget itself. Now, one other thing I want to show you guys. If we right click here and create a blueprint class, make it an actor. This is useful if you want to do stuff on like a global perspective in your level, but like I said, using the level blueprint really isn't the most effective. So we can call this master level, and we're just going to drag him into the world, place him here, and we can open up master level, and we'll make a variable here. We'll just call it master level bool, and we'll make a function, master level cool stuff, and we will drag out here and say master level. Now we couldn't cast to our first to our level blueprint here, but our master level, which is now an actor that we've placed in the world, we definitely can cast to. So if we were in our third person character, for example, and after we created our widget, we'll just have a delay, wait a couple seconds, and then we can use that like we do any other actor. We could say get all actors of class, and we can now search for master level, and we can say get. And now this pin right here is a reference to a master level object. So we can now call master level cool stuff. So if we hit compile and save, we hit play, see it says master level right here. So that's a way around using the level blueprint. You can actually just create an empty actor here, and whatever you wanted to put in the level blueprint you can put into this empty actor, and you'll actually be able to reference it from other blueprints a lot easier. Now the last thing I want to show you guys how to do, and this will work now that we have two things in our level here. So you see we have a master enemy, or our dummy enemy here, and we have our master level blueprint here. So imagine we want the enemy to call something in this master level actor. Since they both exist in the world, what you can do is actually go into the dummy enemy. You can create a variable call it master level ref. Expose this, and you want to make this of type master level object reference. Compile and save. And now you'll be able to see here when you select your dummy enemy and you scroll down, it has this master level reference, none. But you can now click on it and it'll show you anything that will be compatible with that variable. So master level here. Can save it. Now we can go back into our dummy enemy, and instead of doing all of this, we will just break this. We'll wait a couple seconds. We'll use our master level reference and we'll say call master level cool stuff. And just so we don't get confused, I'm going to delete it here from the third person. So now this will actually work without a get all actors or without setting the variable, because both of them exist in the level and you're directly identifying the master level reference that you want to use in the dummy enemy. And that's why we set it over here in the details panel. So if we hit play, wait a couple seconds, and you see master level popped up here. So now our enemy just called something in our master level object. Alright guys, that's all for today. I hope you thought that was helpful, and if you did, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more tutorials. Alright, see you guys later.